listening to the Cameras and Confidence podcast with me, your host, Paige Ewing, photographer and online educator. Together, we will explore the basics of using our cameras, but also how to turn visual storytelling into profitable social selling just with your mobile phone. I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur, wife, and mom of two, and I'm going to deliver you my very best photography advice with a dose of inspiration, real-life humor, and motivational pep talks on ways to show up confidently in your life and in your career. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. Welcome to Cameras and Confidence with me, your host, Paige Ewing. I'm so glad that you're here. This is the very first episode for a very brand new podcast that I have created. Maybe you used to listen to my old podcast, Pages of Life. It's still up. I'm never going to take it down because I love the content that's there. But I wanted to create something new because every season there comes something different, right? And it's okay to make changes. And that's where I'm headed with this podcast, Cameras and Confidence. Yes, we will talk a little bit about cameras, mostly about how to be confident in our life so that shows up well and translates on cameras. But I'm going to get to the meat of that in this second episode where we talk about what to expect on this podcast. Today, this episode is all about you getting to know me and hopefully me getting to know you. Now, while you can't talk back to me during the podcast, I want you to go to my Instagram account. That's where I like to hang out the most. It's Paige_Ewing, E-W-I-N-G, Paige_Ewing. And I want you to say hello. Comment on one of my posts, introduce yourself, jump in my DMs, let me say hello to you. But right now, this episode, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about who I am, where I came from, the heart of what God has put inside of me, so you get to know who I am a little bit better. Like I said, my name is Paige Ewing. You spell my last name E-W-I-N-G, and a lot of people mess it up all the time. Ewing, Ewing, Ooing. I feel so bad for them because they try so hard, like at the tire discount store, and they're ready to call my name up. They just mess it up all the time. But if you've ever watched Dallas, South Fork Ranch, that's how you pronounce it. Or if you know the famous basketball player, Patrick Ewing, that's my last name. But before I got that awesome new, kind of hard to pronounce last name, I was Paige Armstrong. And Paige Armstrong was born in the early 80s in Louisiana to a speech therapist mom and a cricket farming dad. I'll get to that part in a minute. My history is a lot, maybe like yours, but maybe it's not. But what I can guarantee is that there's something in my life and in my upbringing that's similar to yours. So as I share my story, listen and see where you can connect to my story as well. Like I said, I was born in Louisiana. I'm the firstborn. Any other firstborn children out there, I think that it is true how it kind of falls along and the personality tendencies. It doesn't help that you're the firstborn and your parents have never been parents before. They don't know what they're doing, but you think they're supposed to know everything, which means we're the guinea pig of our parents learning how to parent. So that was me. I had a wonderful childhood. I had a good upbringing. Both my parents, we all lived together in the home. Then after I was born, my brother Jacob was born, and then my sister Jessica. So we grew up, suburban Louisiana, which it's kind of an oxymoron now because any town in Louisiana is really more country, hunting, outdoorsy, living off the land. Like there's an aspect of fishing, hunting, mud bogging on four-wheelers. You're outside a lot. And that's what I remember most about my childhood is just being outside a lot, playing in the neighborhood. I grew up in the days where our parents could just open the door. We'd be gone by 8 a.m. and we would come home by probably 8 p.m. when they whistled for us in the neighborhood. And that's when we knew that we had to book it back home. But they didn't worry about our safety. And we didn't worry about whether or not we had our cell phone or our iPad with us. We were skating down the streets. We were building forts in the neighborhood. We were shooting our neighbors with bow and arrows. I do remember one time, I didn't really know how to do it very well, but I pulled it back enough, shot an arrow at a neighbor, and I think it scratched his finger. No harm done. But, that's just kind of the era that we grew up in. And I wish so badly that my kids could have that now. Sadly, it's a different time and I can't provide that for them. But I grew up in Louisiana playing softball. I danced. My brother played ball, football. My sister did the same thing that we did. We were just a very active family. And my dad was the third generation owner of our family's cricket farm. I'll say it again because people always ask, oh, what? Oh, cricket farm. In 1947, my great grandfather started to raise crickets and sell it for fishing in Georgia, actually. And it turned into a business. What are we now? We're in 21. I'm going to totally show my math skills how bad they are right now. 74-year-old business of raising, breeding, selling crickets for fishing. But then it got into the pet industry. If you've ever been to PetSmart or a reptile store and you wanted to buy, a gecko, a leopard gecko, or a bearded dragon, you have to buy food. Where does the food come from? It comes from cricket farms like ours. And so my dad was a cricket farmer, Armstrong's Cricket Farm. It's a really cool business, just an ongoing science project. So I grew up thinking, that's normal, people who are in the farming outdoors, providing people with life experiences, being able to go fishing and things like that. That's just what I grew up in. He hunted. I was around that a lot too. So you could say I was a bit of a Southern girl, a bit of a tomboy as well, but I loved dance recitals. And as I got older, I did pageants as well. So I'm a good mix of that. But what I mostly remember about my childhood is my parents giving us unconditional love, lots of spankings. Yes, they spanked us with belts. They spanked us with some wooden souvenir boat paddles that were provided to the tackle building at the cricket farm. They put Tabasco in our mouth if we said something ugly. There were no child laws that were being broken, but to today's standards, some people would gasp at the idea of children having Tabasco put in their mouth if they said an ugly word. I remember one time my brother put Tabasco in the freezer and my mom found it and she said, "Why is this in the freezer?" And he said, "I didn't want it to be hot whenever I got in trouble." So just the innocence of a child. But as we grew up, we were taught respect. We were taught to say, "Yes, ma'am," "No, sir," "Please," "Thank you." You worked hard for what you do. Homework comes first before play. Eat healthy. Can't have dessert. Just what I think, because it was my world. I grew up in a Christian home who really just instilled, the fear of the Lord, fear of spankings of mom and dad, but also you give to others, you help others in need, and you work hard for what you want in life, and that anything is also possible. My dad instilled into us that whatever we wanted to do, we could do it. And I always remember that. When I was 12, we moved to Georgia because the original cricket farm that I told you about earlier was established in a little bitty town called Glenville, Georgia. Glenville has 2 red lights in the entire town, and it's a farming community. If you've ever eaten a sweet onion, Vidalia sweet onion, we're just down the road from Vidalia. Many of the farmers in our town are sweet onion farmers, and of course, lots of other crops are being grown there. But we moved to take over the other cricket farm in Georgia, and life changed a lot. We went from what we thought was a big town where you had endless options of restaurants and malls and movie theaters to being almost an hour away from any of that. And it was probably the greatest thing that happened to our family, and one of the greatest blessings of really being able to grow up in an area where, yes, you have to entertain yourself. When we were little in Louisiana, but this was another extent of entertaining, was jumping on the hay bales next to our house growing up. Entertainment was listening to the rooster crow that my dad ended up buying, later on once we had children and he wanted it to feel like a farm. Entertainment was going to the El Cheapo gas station in the morning before school and getting a Snicker bar and a V8 Splash for breakfast. It taught us to really enjoy the simple things and the quietness of life and nature. And that's something that is instilled in me that I will always love. But also growing up there, you knew if you wanted to do something beyond what this town has to offer, you would have to move away. And I knew that. When I went to college, I went as a cheerleader. I cheered on a collegiate level. And I knew I would not ever move back home just because I wanted to be a news journalist. I wanted to be an anchor or a broadcaster because I majored in mass communication. And yeah, I like to talk and I'm not afraid of being on camera, but it's the storytelling piece. Looking back now, I really love telling stories and providing a perspective that isn't seen maybe from the naked eye, but let's look through this lens and let me show you this perspective and tell this unique story. And I see it continued into what I do now. And what I do now is offer entrepreneurs ways to use their camera to look at something through a different lens and share a story that, yes, shares a story, but also helps their business and helps develop the like, know, and trust factor from their audience. And so I see that translated into what I do now. So I went to Georgia College and State University in Milledgeville, Georgia. That's where I met my husband, Michael. Right after college, we got married. I graduated May 5th. We got married June 4th. We were grown. We were so grown. We had it so together at 22 years old, probably because we both knew we had a job and we knew where we were going to live. And that was just the next step. And we really wanted to be together. We knew we wanted to be married and we still are married today. Praise God. We're on 16 years. Is it? Yeah, about to be 16 years of marriage. It's been hard. It's been great. It's been difficult, but it's also been fun. And that's marriage. But we're very blessed and grateful for the life that God has given us because once we met in college, we moved to Beaufort, Georgia, where my husband is from. And his family owns a car dealership. So if you need a car, check out Ewing Motor Company on the internet. Wonderful pre-owned cars. But when we moved, I wasn't going to go into that mass communication degree. My husband and I decided I didn't want to move our family to all these small affiliate stations because in that world, you start, very small and on a very small payroll. And his business was solid. It was rooted and grounded in his hometown because that was his family business. And I understood that. So I decided not to go into broadcasting and to just get a few odd jobs along the way. Well, once our first child was born, Avery, she was born in 2009. I knew I was going to stay at home while my husband continued to work. And honestly, y'all, it was not my dream to be a stay-at-home mom. I like to work. I like to create. I like to produce and add value in ways that I know that God has given me gifts. And that was kind of a hard pill to swallow at first, to be a stay-at-home mom. Again, there were so many blessings in the making of that. But I love taking pictures of my daughter. I was obsessed with capturing her life. I bought a nice DSLR camera, just thought I was the best photographer ever, enough to build up the confidence to start my own photography career. And that's just what I did. In 2010, I started Paige Ewing Photography, and it was a thriving business. It kept me busier than what I wanted it to. I did weddings, babies, families, seniors. I loved being with people, and I love giving them moments and memories that they can have forever, that they'll always be able to go back and look back on. But I had a second daughter also during that time, Charlotte. So I have two girls, Avery and Charlotte. Right now, they are currently, little one's 8, and Avery is about to turn 12 in just a few days. Actually, once this episode releases, in just a few days. So I'll have a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old, and my 12-year-old is almost taller than I am. So you can't help it. Being under 5'2", 5'1", and ish quarter, I don't know, a smidge, you're not very tall. So a lot of people are going to be taller than you anyway. But I had both of my girls, thriving photography business, self-taught, loved everything that I did. I love being able to, again, give families and seniors and brides images that they'll love forever. And one day I was on the job. I was at a preschool, a local preschool that my children go to. And my phone kept going off. I kept getting a text message and I couldn't check it at the time. So when the little class with their sweet smock dresses and polo collared shirts and khakis, waddled back into their preschool room, I checked my phone. And at the time, my dad had not been feeling well, my cricket farming dad. And he was going to the doctor in the hospital to find out what was going on, what was causing this and what was causing that. The text message said, the doctor says it's stage 4 cancer in the stomach. I couldn't process it at the time because I was on the job. So I put my phone up, your heart's beating really fast, your knees, the blood starts to rush through your legs and you can't feel your legs for a moment. Your knees feel weak and wobbly and you're lightheaded, but you have to get it together. And so that's what I did. I finished the job. And from that day, the diagnosis of my dad having stage 4 cancer, 7 weeks later, he passes away. So I could say it was unexpected, even though we knew he had cancer, but we were acting in faith and believing that the efforts that we were creating to get him well and that the doctors were providing and that the chemo was doing was going to heal him. We believe that 100%. Were we dumb and stupid to believe that? Absolutely not. Because when you believe healing is coming, you have hope. And when there is hope, there is still life. But the moment that you give up and you lose hope, that's when death happens, even if your heart is still beating. And so I do not regret for one bit continuing to believe that my dad was going to be healed. So I want to speak to you right now. If you are in a season where you have faith for an answered prayer, keep believing. I just had Journey's song in my head. Don't stop believing. Don't stop praying. Continue with the faith, because in that, it's going to keep you lifted. It's going to give you hope. It's going to keep your spirit alive. And I pray that you get the outcome that you were desiring and that God is going to grant you your heart's desires. But if it doesn't turn out the way you had wanted, I'm on the other side of that. And I want you to know you are going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Life will be okay. It's going to be really hard for a while, and it's not going to feel okay, but it will get better. Healing will come. Comfort will come. Peace will come. But if you're not there yet and you're still in the waiting for your answered prayer, don't let your mind go to the what if. Don't let your thoughts go down a rabbit trail. Stay in the moment, stay present. And every day, God is going to give you renewed strength. Every morning, you get new strength. Because if you turn to Him and if you depend and rely on Him for your peace and your comfort, He's going to give you what you need in that moment, just like He gave me what I needed in that moment. So when my dad passed, my sister and I, we inherited our family's cricket farm. Yep. At the time, 70-year-old business. We became the 4th generation owners of Armstrong's Cricket Farm, and we became the first female owners of the family business of the cricket farm. In the same breath, I also took on the responsibilities of my dad's estate. When someone passes, they name some person, an executor or executrix. I always like to say executor because the other word's a little bit tricky to say. Someone who takes care of all the legal and financial affairs of their life and what they are in charge of. Can we just clarify that in my home, still currently, I don't even take care of the water bill or the light bill or pay Netflix bill. I didn't take care of the finances. Michael does that. My husband does that. He still does. But being the firstborn, I was honored to be able to take care of my dad's estate. It was overwhelming. Dealing with grief, missing your dad, taking on a family business that is actually 4 hours away of where my sister and I live, and being in charge of finances. I don't even know what some of those words meant, insurance in Texas and this and that, because I didn't have to deal with it. Thankfully, my husband did. I grew up really fast. And not only did I grow up really fast, I had to make a decision that grown-ups make of, is it time to lay down the photography business? Are you going to be able to juggle both? Are you going to give it the attention that it needs during this time? I knew I couldn't, and I knew what was on my plate and what I had been handed. And it was time to put my camera on the shelf for a little while, so to speak. And so I ended Paige Ewing Photography to go down the road that had been handed to me. And at the time, I felt like it was a burden. I knew it was a blessing, but it felt so heavy. It felt so much like a burden. And I wanted to make my dad proud. And so I wanted to do the very best that I could for the family business and take care of his estate. But after time, I missed having my own thing. I missed having my photography. I missed making, money from my own creativity. And that's when something new fell into my lap and showed up on the doorstep, so to speak. At the time, I had been using, face creams and lash serum to grow my eyelashes, and being able to use certain products that helped me look a little younger. As I was getting older, nothing was going to help, on its own. So I needed to make sure that I was taking care of my skin, so to speak. So I was getting some compliments on my lashes because they were growing really long. And I thought, might as well just consider making money from talking about what I'm already using, basically. Well, a good friend of mine had approached me and said, do you want to join the business and be a consultant and basically pay for your own products? And I've always said, I will never do direct sales. That is just not my thing. Nope, I'm not going to do it. That's for people who X, Y, and Z. You come up with all the excuses and the reasons why you don't want to do something that doesn't seem like it's right for you. But when it's the right time, because God's timing is always the right time, you might make a decision that's a little bit different. So I said yes. There was a weird prompt inside of me that said, you should do it, even though I never thought I wanted to do it. So I became a consultant for Rodan & Fields skincare company, and I still am a consultant for Rodan & Fields. I've actually loved being able to learn and grow and develop my mindset for business and learn how to use social media for business, but also help other women get confident in their own skin, and men. Yes, I also have men customers. So I've been a Rodan & Fields consultant for 3 years now. And through that, I have realized how important it is to be confident in yourself, because you're going to get so many no's. You're going to get so many, rejections. They're not rejecting you. They just don't want the product, or they don't want to spend the money. And that's fine. But you've got to grow some thick, tough skin to be in this kind of business, and also learn how to be able to use your phone and your social media to make sales. And it's been a roller coaster, because you can come off as pushy and cheesy and artificial. And I have made so many mistakes in this business. And if you're listening to this and I've reached out to you and said something cringy, I am sorry. I was learning, right? And I still am learning. I still don't have it all figured out. But one thing that I am very confident in is showing up well on social media through pictures. So where I am now is so amazing how you can see how God takes you down different paths of your life to bring you to where he wants you to be. Where I am right now is I have a heart to help entrepreneurs who are like me, starting out in a business where you need social media. Maybe it's not direct sales. Maybe you own a boutique. Maybe you own a hair salon. Maybe you're an insurance agent or a real estate agent, but you need social media to be able to show your services, to connect with people. a lot of people are scared to show up and show their face on social media. It's easy to hide behind a bottle. It's easy to show eye cream. It's easy to show shampoo or to show a house. Yes, people do want to see the product, but they really want to know who they're buying from. Can they trust you? How are they going to know to trust you? Because they have to see you, your expressions, your face, your smile, your eyes, hear stories about your own life. And so I'm developing services for women who want to be able to take better pictures with their camera on their phone, to know how to edit it naturally that isn't a filter, to be able to tie in a story and really share something on social media that's going to connect with their ideal customer. And so that's where I am today. I'm taking my photography skills, my journalism skills, my direct sales skills, and just my love for God and my love to help people, putting them all together in Paige Ewing, Cameras and Confidence. I'm doing it on this podcast. I'll be able to offer one-on-one training for you. If you're interested, I can work with you specifically on how to do editing, lighting, posing, how to share, how to do words. Can I even make videos? I did all of that when I was in mass communication and being able to share stories for the news. So for the phone, it is fun. I love it. I love creating images and videos, and I want to be able to share with you and teach you how to do that and how to show up confidently. But it's more than just having a good picture or having a good video. It starts in your thoughts, right? Because your thoughts are going to affect how you feel about yourself. Now, how you feel about yourself, that's your choice if you want to act on that or not. You may feel really crappy about yourself and you may act negatively on that. Or when you feel really great about yourself, you can choose, now it's time to go. Do it, say it, write it, share it, sell it, make the move, right? Because our actions eventually turn into our habits, and what we do habitually becomes our lifestyle. And our lifestyle leads to our destiny, our end goal of where we're going. And what our destiny is, yes, it sounds mythical and magical. It's created by you. It's ordained by God, but you have the choice to take those paths that you want to go down to live out your destiny. And then that leaves your legacy. When I think back to my dad and the legacy that he left for me and my sister and my family and all of us living now without him physically here, even though he's spiritually here, his legacy was shaped by his daily decisions to show up, work hard, be respectful, give back, love others, relax, enjoy nature, and what he taught us and how he made us feel. That was the legacy that he's left. And I want to carry that on, and I want to create my own. And I want that to be one of showing up and being responsible and a good steward of the gifts that God has given me. And I just hope that my girls, my daughters, one day when I'm not here, they have some good things to say about me. And it's not going to be a grand gesture. It's in the small acts, the everyday decisions, the everyday words that I've said, how I've responded in certain ways. Was I selfish or was I selfless? But did I sacrifice everything and neglect myself, or did I make sure to take care of my well-being? Those are the things that I think about that I want to be able to leave for my girls and hopefully their children and their grandchildren. So that's a little bit about me. Thanks for listening. I hope that you join the next episode. I'm going to share what you can expect on this podcast, Cameras and Confidence. Get excited because it's not going to be surface level here. We're going deep. Okay. We're going deep because I don't do surface level. And I want you to grow. I want you to be confident. I want you to feel good about who you are, what you're doing, what you're providing, And at the end of the day, say, I'm building my legacy. I'm building it and I'm doing it. Thanks, guys. Hey, it's Paige, your host of Cameras and Confidence. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you want to stay plugged in every time a new episode drops on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. Also, like and share this video with your friends and family. I appreciate it so much. You have a phenomenal week, and I'll see you next time.